A local pastor is largely supporting Mayor Ted Wheeler's proposal on gun violence. He is backing the plan to invest in public safety and to restaff the Portland Police Bureau. Fox 12's Sarah Hurwitz has much more on Pastor Matt Hennessy and what he's saying.
Well, the pastor believes that a number of the ideas that the mayor put forward in that proposal are proactive work, but he did have a couple of suggestions to add to that.
Starting in the next fiscal year, Mayor Ted Wheeler wants to add 300 staff to the Portland Police Bureau for the following 3 years. He says 200 would be armed officers, 100 would be unarmed community safety specialists.
I think it's a good move to go in this direction to really help with the very necessary improvement both in staff and in experience that walks out the door.
Pastor Matt Hennessy of Vancouver Avenue First Baptist Church stands by that move. The mayor is also proposing to fund a retire-rehire program where officers who recently or are soon to be retired can come back to work for a 2-year period to fill the critical need as the Bureau's staffing is at all-time lows.
I think that is a really good idea with a caveat. I think it's important to have some community oversight of that hiring process.
Pastor Hennessy says he's never been a believer in defunding the police, but he believes there needs to be a holistic approach with police officers and other kinds of responders showing up to calls, especially related to mental health. And part of the mayor's proposal uses funds for roles just like that, public safety support specialists.
I do believe that anything we can do to help de-escalate what is going on the street that would not necessarily require an armed response, I think is a good thing.
And the mayor's also asking City Council to promote retention by offering longevity bonuses for current officers based on length of employment, and to bargain with the Portland Police Association in offering signing bonuses of up to $25,000 to the first 50 recruits.
I run hot and cold on this issue of incentivizing people. Here's what we know. Because of what has gone on in Portland over the last 1.5 to 2 years, I do realize that it's very hard to get people, even from surrounding communities, to want to be a Portland police officer because, unfortunately, they believe that it's really not a very good place to work right now. And I think that's really sad because, quite frankly, this is a great city. It has a great history. I do believe that it probably will take incentives to get people to apply. I don't know how the mayor reached 25,000. That seems pretty high. But if that's what it takes, then it tells us, number one, how big our problem is. But my prayer would be that what we are also doing is putting things in place so that that's not what has to happen in the future.
More than $2.5 million Wheeler's proposing to equip Portland police with body cams. The mayor's also proposing to change training within the Portland Police Bureau by hiring a dean of police education and training. He says to develop a research-based curriculum, training protocols, and procedures that align with the current best practices.
So if this dean is a dean that is going to be focused only inside the Portland Police Bureau, I think is a total mistake.
Now, Pastor Hennessy had a couple of suggestions to add to this. He'd like to see the mayor create a task force on reimagining the police, which would include citizens, Portland police, and people with lived experience. He also believes that citizens should be involved in the training process and understand if they're asking for a certain kind of policing environment, how can neighbors enhance their own environment as well? And he'd also like to see the city sign a contract with the California Partnership, an organization that works with law enforcement to improve service delivery. Now, I also asked Pastor Hennessy if this is coming down too late now that we're at 72 homicides this year, including his own stepson who was shot and killed earlier this year. He says this is a shame that it wasn't done last spring, but he does support what's happening now. Sarah Hurwitz, Fox 12 Oregon.